For many years now, Russ and Craig have had many wide-ranging conversations with folks from all over the gaming world. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapter.
So there I was, tacking up. Oh wait, hey Russ.
Yes.
Is that Michael and James from FFG coming in?
It is. They're working Armada. Craig, call them over here. Let's talk about Star Wars. I have a bunch of Star Wars questions.
Hey guys, welcome. Come on over and join us.
Yeah, please.
This is awesome.
Hey guys.
Hey, James, Michael.
Hey, what are you having there, Michael? What are you eating? What's your
Just
poison
about
of
to
choice?
enjoy my filled jelly donut, which is my favorite
there
in
you
the
go.
world.
A classic. A classic.
James, what are you having there?
James, we know you've never been in a Dunkin Donuts before. Did anything behind the counter catch your fancy?
Oh, I've just been double fisting crawlers for a while here.
You know, I just had
wrong with a
You know what I just had, which is fantastic. Have you guys ever had the pumpkin pie donut?
No.
I have heard of that.
So imagine imagine a yeast donut, the kind you normally fill with jelly, but instead you inject it with pumpkin pie filling, and then you cover the top with a light frosting and graham cracker pumpkin pie crust. It is very good.
That is impressive.
I'm just saying.
Russ
it's good.
is the king of the seasonal foods.
I am. See, now that we're past Halloween, be prepared to move on to the various eggnog flavors. That's where we should be heading towards now. So you'll want to see eggnog in every flavor you can get.
This will be a lost chapter somewhere.
I've never seen a cranberry donut though, and I feel like it should be around at Thanksgiving. I haven't seen one of those, but
maybe there's your niche.
Yeah, maybe that's the flavor. But I think since we have these two, I would say, do you think it's fair? Do either of you get accused of being Star Wars experts now that you've worked on these Star Wars games for Fantasy Flight?
I think it's a charge that could be leveled at us.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And do you?
And I'm sure you've had to do a lot of arduous research into Star Wars as part of your job now.
Does your boss walk around, Chris, or somebody come up and say, "Hey, we got this Star Wars project. How many times have you seen episode 4? And if the answer is less than 10, he just moves on? Or is he do you have to have a minimum number of viewings to even be able to consider for a project?
I've had my boss say, get to work on reading about Star Wars.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Right? Do they give quizzes for you? Things like, name the line that proves there's cloaking devices in the Star Wars universe. Do they ever quiz you on things like that?
We don't. There haven't been a lot of pop quizzes, but it's definitely an environment where we compare knowledge and lore on a daily basis.
Nice.
And find out we did not know before.
We're more likely to quiz the RPG guys. Definitely.
Yeah, I think that crew probably. And
there you go.
And I always wanted to ask this question too, because then we'll get on the general Star Wars questions. But since we got here, I have to ask this question also. So, is there a minimum number of references in the canon before you can bring the technology forward? Does it just take one? If there's just one little hint about something, like the stealth technology line, there's the one line, right? So it's does that enough to say, yes, we can put a cloaking device on the ship? Or do you need several number of references before you can do something?
There's not really a guide for it. It's just sort of, will it fit into the game? Does the game need it?
Yeah.
Then we're happy to put it in.
Yeah, we definitely want to abide by LFL's guidelines on what is and is not canon, and we paid definite attention to the recent change, which they announced back in April.
Yeah.
So we have to we spend a lot of time thinking about what makes sense for the game.
That's a whole segment too on that changes there, but
that's true. And I believe the line you were referring to, Russ, is I'm gonna paraphrase it.
Yeah.
But no ship that size has a cloaking device.
That's right. That is the line. That's the line. Yeah, I had a friend in my first job out of college. We used to quiz each other on little stupid Star Wars facts like that. It was fun. So let's not talk. We're in Dunkin Donuts. Let's not talk shop here. I think we should do what every geek does.
We'll save the rest of the game stuff for I don't know, that massive 4-hour
episode. Main show.
Man, but I was trying. I had something witty in mind, Russ. So thanks for crushing my dreams.
You lost it. But let's talk about this. Let's do what every geek does when having a cup of coffee, which is debate about geek movies. And why don't we focus on Star Wars? So let me guys ask you this first. When did you guys each of you first see Star Wars? Were any of you lucky enough to actually, be as old as Craig and I am and actually have seen them when they first released in the theaters? I'm talking about the first three, not those second three ones yet.
I don't think I'm that much younger because I'm told that I was taken to see Empire Strikes Back as a baby, and I remember going to see Jedi as a small child.
All right.
That is good parenting, by the way.
That is very good parenting.
Taking a baby to Empire Strikes Back.
Taking an infant to see Empire Strikes Back is fantastic parenting.
That's right.
That's right.
I can't say I saw it in the theaters, but I did see a good VHS of each of the original trilogy.
Nice.
Okay.
And you saw it when Han shot first then. So you saw it pre-modification.
You saw all the real,
yes, exactly. The real versions. Good. Okay. Whew.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys were ever, so Craig and I are both obviously old enough to have seen them, but I remember during it was my teenage years. So when Star Wars: A New Hope first came out, I was, 10. So I saw it as a young kid. I remember it very clearly as being just super informative, that's awesome. But then I remember we'd have these debates with our friends as we were waiting for, because A New Hope ended in a way that there didn't ever be another film. The bad guy was sent off into space out of control, but it just ended, and it could have been that just by itself. And so when there was an Empire Strikes Back, it was like, oh, that's cool. But then everybody was really it is known, Khaleesi. It is just known that Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars film. Are we going to fight about that, or is that just known?
No, I can't fight about that.
So, but the thing was, after I saw it, I hated it. And I think most of us hated it because the ending was so
it did
crappy.
Not end well. That's true.
The ending was, and you had to wait 3 or 4 more years because they weren't coming out every year.
We did. That's the.
So
that's
imagine reading a book, and imagine seeing Luke's hand get cut off, and you just found out. First of all, before it came out, the rumors are going Darth Vader's Luke's father, and everybody's no, he's not. That is so stupid. He's never going to be Luke's. And there, of course,
Shut up, you doofus.
Right, don't be an idiot. Come on, man. Because you guys are too young to have lived through this. And then, but it was crazier. Right before Jedi comes out, right? There's comic books, and you can get, you can always buy those stupid, kids' books that summarize the movie.
Yeah.
Before it comes out, and you can spoil it. So, you try not to spoil it for yourself. But then you got friends coming up going, hey, you thought it was weird that Vader was Luke's dad? Guess who Luke's sister is? We're like, no.
But they kissed. Ew.
I know, right? That's not going to happen. That's just crazy talk. But yeah. So it was so what's the count? Do you guys have a rough estimate on the number of times you've seen Star Wars?
Oh man,
I know I played it on my VHS over and over and over again, just in the background usually. Right after, once I got tired of Wayne's World.
It's got to be in the dozens for me, especially Empire, which is undoubtedly one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
But I watched New Hope. So many times as a kid. Oh man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know that I can possibly give a number because I watched I was 8 when when episode 4 came out. My parents brought me it's actually one of the first movies I actually remember going to because my memory as a child really stinks. My memories of childhood I can't remember much, but it was very, very, very impactful. It really shaped a lot of my preconceptions about what good sci-fi would be, about what good movies would be, and sort of shaped what I wanted out of movies and storytelling in general. And then, when Empire Strikes Back came out, and as Russ said, and then those of us who were experiencing it in real time had to oh my God, there's Luke's hand and there's Han Solo and Chewbacca. They're going off on their own. Oh my God, what's wrong? Or no, Han Solo's gone.
Han Solo's carbonite, right?
Yeah, it's even worse.
Everybody's favorite character is on ice. I mean, it's like
exactly.
Everybody's
favorite character
really
is gone.
It was a hard ending because you hate when a movie doesn't wrap up, and literally Empire clearly ended, like New Hope ended in a way that it could have been it.
Right. Yeah.
Empire ended in a way where it clearly was not. I mean, it wasn't even really a totally told story. So you're like just hanging there going, man. So it's a great, storytelling device, but it sucks when you got to wait a couple of years after that.
Yeah. Well, so I've watched, so I was too young when Star Wars came out to see it multiple times because my parents weren't about to pay for that. But by the time Empire Strikes Back came, all I needed them for was a ride to the movies, and then they would drop me off. So I saw that multiple times. And then Return of the Jedi, I was on my own. I had my own car then, I think. So then I was going multiple times. And then, of course, every iteration of the VHS tapes that came out, I bought the whole new version. And then when the DVDs came out, I bought the version, was so upset that I probably haven't bought one since. But when they changed everything. But I couldn't even, I couldn't possibly ever be able to figure out how often I've watched all three because they've been so central. I can guarantee you there's nothing in my life, whether it's Lord of the Rings or even Guardians of the Galaxy, nothing have I seen even close to the number of times that I've seen the first three original Star Wars movies.
So, and I can assure you our entire company watches it at least once a year as we take our little trip down to Gen Con on our company bus.
Nice. Yeah. Is that does require watching?
There you go.
It's Star Wars again. Do you guys just recite the movie as it goes along? Is it just kind of all talk to it? It'd be kind of great. You hear the whole company just.
No, I would be so ticked off. Craig, you've seen it 100 times. I don't care. Shut up. Somebody give me headphones.
So let me ask you this. So it sounds like you guys both were. So who saw Jedi in the theaters? I forget. Did everybody see it in the theaters or no?
Yeah, I have a very distinct memory of going to see Jedi with my aunt at a young age.
Because I remember this debate too, and I wanted to ask you guys: Ewoks, pro or con? My wife's over here in the corner yelling, "Pro!" What did you guys think of Ewoks?
Yeah,
I'm totally fine with Ewoks.
Yep. I have to say the same. They never bothered me. I think I flirted briefly with hating them in the 90s when everybody else hated them. But then it was a thing. I developed enough of a personality to be able to admit that I like Ewoks.
I only dislike Ewoks when I was reading the making of books, and they said that originally that was supposed to be Kashyyyk and be Wookiees.
Right.
Because when I read that, I was like, "Oh, that would have been so much cooler as Wookiees."
But it would have had to have been a totally different story, though.
No, I know. And then they ended up doing the Wookiees later in episode whatever it was. But I just really thought that would have been cool. But
no, you wanted to see. But then didn't they do like a Christmas special on Kashyyyk? So you saw it.
The Christmas special is dead to me. I've never seen that show. The Christmas special does not exist. That's not the special you're looking for.
Good luck.
You do not watch the Christmas special.
You'd have an easier time finding video footage of Tom Cruise bouncing on a couch.
It may or may not be on YouTube, but I do not watch the Star Wars Christmas special ever.
Right.
Have you guys seen it?
I have not had the pleasure.
I have watched. One of my friends had a copy that he had recorded as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was watching it. Because I wanted to see anything that had Star Wars on its name.
Oh, as a kid, I thought it was awesome, but now it's like what? It's pretty bad.
A VHS of that would be like The Ring.
It would be like The Ring.
Like, if you watch this in 7 days, your geek cred will die.
Right, it will kill you.
Since we're talking Ewoks, I watched both of the Ewok made-for-TV movies.
Oh, you did?
That was another childhood. So
now, were they endearing to you, or were they a little tragic?
So I liked the first one, but it's funny you bring that up because I remember the second one. Giving me nightmares. Like, it was pretty I am not commenting. I think it's a good movie, and like the little girl totally gets saved by Wilford Brimley at the end. But
spoiler alert!
Sorry, if you haven't seen, I don't think that's Caravan of Courage. I think that's the Ewok Adventure Part 2.
Right.
Yeah, it's it's pretty scary at the beginning.
Wilfred Brimley.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Oh God, that was too funny.
All right, so now I think we should move on to the darker times. Not that
well,
dark.
It's
let's talk about. I think we should talk about a little bit about, because there's no doubt. I think that anybody who's even remotely geeky in their nature has obviously seen and usually loves Star Wars. I mean, now you run into people. It was funny. I was at a company dinner last week on a business trip when I work for a company that's totally unrelated to gaming in any way, and we're there, and how people define generations. So we had a bunch of younger employees there and a bunch of the older employees at the table. And it was literally how you define generations is literally like, for example, these people over here are so young, they've never seen Star Wars. Like, that's how you define a generation gap. Like, that's what people use as dialogue now. And it wasn't even a geeky conversation. It wasn't like a couple nerds. It was like my CEO saying this about that's how you define the difference between people in a room. And my wife's over here like, there's people who haven't seen Star Wars? Is that a thing? It's just how it is. So it's like, it definitely is a. Do you guys find it's a generational thing, or is it becoming old enough now where it's more of a generational thing, or is it still? I mean, do you guys see that as much? Maybe not, because you're living geek culture, maybe a little bit, but
in small ways, yeah, for sure. Like, I notice people younger than me have an attachment at least to different things related to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know my niece and my nephew have yet to see it because they're toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny, like, not seeing Star Wars to me would be like not knowing about King Arthur.
Right.
In a weird way.
That's a good analogy.
On that level.
Yeah. I think that's right. It's big enough. It's. I don't think you can be a movie person and not have at least, you have to, if you're going to understand American culture and American movies, I think you have to at least watch some Star Wars, right? It'd be like not watching The Godfather ever and saying, you know what I mean? Like, I think, and saying you understand what a gangster movie is. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have to have watched it if you're going to at least understand what sci-fi is, even if you're not a fan, right?
Oh yeah, it's simply for if you're a Family Guy fan at all, you need to.
Right. If you want to understand the context of any cartoon sitcom nowadays, you have to watch it.
Right.
You're just not in the loop.
But I think you guys nailed it when you have younger kids. Like, when I talk to other parents, like younger kids, like my kids have seen Star Wars, the shows. But I'm a little ashamed to admit though that when my kids are really young. Like they're 10 and 12 now, and they've seen Star Wars movies several times because basically Nicole and I have them on all the time in the house. But when they were younger, like 4 and 5 and 6, I felt there was a couple darker scenes in some of the Star Wars movies. I was waiting for them to get a little older, and that's when the Star Wars Lego games came out for Xbox and stuff. And their first exposure to the Star Wars story was actually Star Wars Legos, and so when I was getting ready to show them Star Wars, my oldest daughter said, "Oh, I know Darth Vader's story, Daddy. He starts out good, then he goes bad, and then he ends up good again." I was like, "Oh, yep, you figured it out." So, they need to learn from Legos. But yeah, I think there's definitely, like, you get that when you talk to younger kids. It's like, do you like Star Wars? Oh yeah, I love that cartoon Clone Wars. It's fantastic. That's Star Wars to them. So the universe lives on, but in different ways. So what about
Michael's a big fan of the show as well?
Yeah, actually, Clone Wars is probably one of my favorite shows of the last 5 years.
Yeah, Clone Wars is fantastic.
Good stuff.
Now, have any of you guys seen Star Wars Rebels yet?
I have.
What'd you think of Rebels?
I like it just because I'm seeing stormtroopers and Imperial officers, and the very cool thing that they're doing is laying the groundwork for Episode 7 by letting you know that there are still Jedi out there,
right?
Which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And TIE fighters. I have now this is awesome. Little side story, very quick. So I'm my son likes Star Wars. He's only 4. He loves Star Wars, but only on a very abstract level. Like, he's got lots of toys, and he knows what the Millennium Falcon is. He knows Han Solo. We sit down and we watch the Star Wars Rebels, and I'm explaining like, oh, those are all good guys, but they don't trust each other at the beginning. And so he's like, oh, they're going to trust the little boy at the end. And so he's getting into it. And then, but he gets the stormtrooper. He's like, the stormtroopers are bad guys, right? So whenever they show up, he goes, uh-oh, which is really funny. So we went to it was awesome. We went to a big Halloween party at a big children's museum up in Dover, where he takes classes. Oh. And we were driving through Dover. Dover, New Hampshire has this awesome Halloween where it's trick or treat with the stores. The businesses are all open for trick or treat, and I've never seen this much participation before. Like entire families, like the parents and little kids, all of them in really elaborate costumes going door to door to all these businesses. It was really neat. And there was one family, and they were all dressed up as stormtroopers. Nice. And as we drove by, I didn't even see them. My son Reese went, uh-oh, Daddy, stormtroopers, this isn't going to be good.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, I love you. You're so good. And then my wife then shattered my preconceptions of our entire marriage by saying, wait. Stormtroopers are bad? Why are they wearing white?
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh no,
wow.
You didn't know stormtroopers were bad? Oh, I have to rethink this whole relationship.
Wow. That's a whole archetypal thing, Craig, you got to work on
there. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I'm really enjoying Star Wars Rebels.
That's awesome. Well, please go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you, have you guys seen Rebels at all yet or no?
Unfortunately, no, I haven't had a chance.
Yeah, I'm sad to admit I really want to watch it. I don't have cable at the moment, and I have not found the time to go pursue watching it, but I actually really, really want to get into it.
I have the same problem. Yeah, I don't have live cable, so I watch shows that I buy shows usually on either via I subscribe to Hulu and Netflix, and then I usually buy shows onesie twosie from Xbox or iTunes or whatever, and it's not out there yet. And I'm frustrated because I know it's sitting there waiting to be downloaded. But I do want to see Rebels. But so let me ask you this: so of course they revived Star Wars in a way in the late '90s, early 2000s. So it would be possible for a lot of folks who are younger than Craig and I to have seen, quote unquote, the original Star Wars in a theater, but of course they modified it slightly. And then they came out with of course, the new trilogy, the first three. What did you guys think of, when you saw, because obviously I think everybody's old enough to have seen those in the theater. So what did you guys think of those when they came out? The 1, 2, and 3?
I'll date those are my college years. And, I liked them. I found them entertaining. I liked the original movies. They resonated more with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's funny now. My memories of those movies are colored by liking the Clone Wars series so much that it's affected how I look at the movies.
Really? How so? Do you?
Because the show expounds on a lot of things in the films, characters I might not have enjoyed as much in the movies, I actually have a way bigger connection to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how far you guys are into the series, but like, Darth Maul means a lot more to me now.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I get it. So they've sort of this. Maybe one of the challenges they did, and I think it's a fair criticism of the first three films, is they introduced a lot of stuff. They had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different plot arcs that Lucas was trying to close up and make sense from the, kind of lead you up to the first four, the first three, but then also add a bunch of new plot points. So you had like Grievous, who clearly has a very interesting past, but you see him on the screen for like how long, right? So like that kind of stuff. Right. So you think Clone Wars is kind of bringing those other characters alive more, and kind of the films now in that context are more interesting and make more and are more meaningful?
Well, I think one of the things that Star Wars has always done really well is to imply depth of story with visuals and dialogue.
Yeah.
And like the characters, they introduce a lot of things in the prequels, and they don't necessarily get a chance to explore all of it as much as they might have wanted to. But I feel like one of the strength, not to put the focus on that show too much either, but like I think it's because it's a show, it's able to explore those characters and give you more about that.
Yeah.
And that changed how I looked at the prequels, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, cool. That's interesting. What do you think, Craig, of the prequels?
I would echo those sentiments, except I have not seen all of Clone Wars. I have most of it on DVD, actually. But I would say I enjoyed the prequels. I think every one of them was sort of and it was doomed to be so, sort of disappointing on a minor level in that it didn't engage me emotionally as much as the first three did. And I don't know if that's, because of my age difference when I saw it. I mean, like, the old saying of all the things I lost as a youth, the thing I missed the most is my innocence. So once you've gone through that, the next thing, you're a different person 10, 15 years down the road. So I don't know if I don't know that anything has ever resonated with me the way those first three movies did, really. So I don't think it was ever going to, but at the same time, and for whatever reason, I don't know, the Ewoks didn't bother me. Jar Jar Binks did. So there's that. I mean, digital effects are great, but I think, I think that was an abuse. And I think that there were some casting calls that were made that I think could have been done better. Without getting in, without making this a bashing the prequel session. I just there are many reasons I think they didn't resonate as much, and I enjoyed them, and I think I own a couple of them. I don't even remember. And every now and then I enjoy them, but I don't enjoy them, interestingly, for the story. Like, I don't usually go back for the story. I usually go back for the battle scenes and the visuals and like that giant fleet battle going on over this, over Coruscant and things like that. So I mean, they did a lot of cool things, and there was a lot of cool exploration going on, but it was more of an intellectual cool than an emotional cool for me, I guess.
I get that, yeah. There's always the challenge, too, of you know what happened, and a prequel always has that hurdle to overcome. And I know when I went to see it, I saw it, I was in the mindset of wanting to see entertainment. I wasn't thinking about the original trilogy. It had been a while since I had seen them, honestly. I saw those as a kid and sort of stopped watching it for maybe 4 or 5 years. And so I sort of came at it with a fresh mind, and it really changes your perspective. I thought I was jaded and cynical as a teenager. So.
There you go. See,
I liked. Go ahead. Well, I just wanted to say I liked the first three. I think I'm the only person I know that liked the first one the best. And the reason I did, Jar Jar didn't bother me that much, but the problem I had with the first three movies really was really the actors who played Anakin Skywalker. Yeah. Because unfortunately, those first three movies were all about Anakin Skywalker. And Lucas has said the entire saga is the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, right? So you see how he falls from grace, and then you see how he saves himself in the end, right? So but the problem is you really had to have Anakin Skywalker be a likable character. You really wanted to feel bad. And the problem was the actor they had, and I don't know if it was the actor or the writing or the directing or what, so I don't want to blame any one person, but I found, as a kid, I found him annoying. Mm-hmm. And as a teenager, I found him annoying. And as an adult, I found him annoying. And my absolute favorite scenes, the scenes in the movie that I did connect on an emotional level, and I felt it was Star Wars, the very, very beginning of Phantom Menace has some of the best banter in any of the Star Wars films. And it's the Trade Federation guys. Have you ever faced a Jedi before? What? I don't know what you mean. That whole scene is just fantastic.
Is that legal?
Where you come back, because remember, if you've only seen the original 3 films, and you're going into this, you've never seen more than one Jedi on a screen at a time, except for the Sith fighting once in a while. And all of a sudden, you've got 2. And all of a sudden, you've got 2 together, and they take out this entire ship of robots. And that was just awesome. And the whole scene, and the way they talk to each other, and the way Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan work together, and the way the Trade Federation responded to them, that was awesome. No Anakin in those scenes. And then later, the other scene that really connected me on an emotional level, where it got the music right, it got the moment right, and my heart fell at the end, was the battle between Darth Maul and the two Jedi. Yeah. That is some of the best sword fighting you'll ever see in a film.
And best music.
In best music. That combination, and I was completely engaged in that moment where Obi-Wan's cut off by those the laser doors, and he's like looking. I am like in that moment with him, feeling like, open that door, let him save Qui-Gon. You know, I'm right there. I'm emotionally connected that entire time. Those are the only times in the first 3 films I get that way. The rest of them, I really don't care, because the rest get more and more about Anakin, and for whatever reason, I don't care about Anakin. I really can't care about him, because it's just like, would you just turn bad already? Because it's like the way they do it, and his lines with Padme and everything, it's just like, I get knocked out of the film every time. I don't want to bash it, but so I liked Phantom Menace because of those couple scenes where it really felt like Star Wars to me. The rest of them, I'm more like you, Craig. It was like really epic special effects and really epic scenes, you know, and all the Jedi fighting at once were fantastic, but I wasn't into the characters like I was in parts of Phantom Menace and the first 3 films.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
That was it for me there. But you guys made up some good points about other Star Wars properties that have really, you know, just kept that awesome Star Wars feeling. And before we run out of time, I want to cut more. We talked about the animated series, which are really fantastic. Clone Wars is great. Rebels is looking solid. And there's been other smaller ones. What about the books? Have you guys read any of the vast Star Wars novels at all?
I sure have. The Heir to the Empire series, the Timothy Zahn novels,
Zahn,
from those were certainly a huge. I guess I'd go so far as to say influence on me. Definitely an influence for me thinking about Star Wars, because they managed to feel like a Star Wars story, but in a different medium.
Yep.
Star Wars is so visual, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like he did a really good job with those books and created some really memorable characters.
Yeah, I think it's generally agreed that Zahn stuff is like must read. It's really, really good. Yeah,
I think it stands to the test of time. Also, it's some nice, cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I definitely have an emotional attachment to those books still.
Very cool.
I know the novelization of the original movie.
Yep.
And I think I read Han Solo at Star's End.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Now, it's interesting because the original novels are almost all like actual big name authors, too. Like Terry Brooks did one, so they really brought in some heavy hitters to do those novelizations, which is cool. What I really like, actually, are the anthologies that they come up with, the Tales from Jabba's Palace, Tales from the Cantina, Tales of the Bounty Hunters. There's a lot of really cool short stories out there that got compiled into these, like a series of anthologies they did soon after the movies, the first 3 movies came out, which are a lot of fun.
We've got a number of fans of the Bounty Hunter series.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What do you, I think, I don't remember if it was Chris or Michael that mentioned, James or Michael that mentioned this earlier. Sorry, James. I was who mentioned it earlier, but you guys mentioned that there's so many great Star Wars characters that you just kind of want to dive in deeper. Like Lando Calrissian's a fantastic character that, just doesn't have enough screen time in the movies. And so there's he's got a lot of great scenes in several of the books, which is fantastic. So the books are a great way to really get in and get close to some of those characters. Boba Fett's another great example, right? Where he gets a lot more time in the books. So there's a great way to get closer to some of those characters you don't see much in the movies.
Yeah. I definitely, I remember when I read those books specifically, when Lando shows up, I was like, oh, awesome, because I really loved Lando as a kid. But I also really like the characters they added, like Admiral Thrawn comes to mind.
Yeah.
Senator Garnbell Iblis. He introduced new characters, and he also delivered on, he made Luke feel like Luke for me, at least in that, and in the particular Zahn novels. Which I think is kind of the art of writing in a shared universe like that. It's trying to make those characters feel true to the characters as we knew them.
Yeah, definitely. That must be hard. that must be really hard. You're right to write. You know, I mean, Craig, you've experienced the challenge. Well, both you guys have. You know, I think a lot of the guys at FFG probably run into this too, are having to write, you know, bits of fiction or whatever around characters that people know well and have to kind of capture the essence of that person. But especially in something so iconic as Star Wars, right, to have to sort of capture them for a full-length novel or whatever and make sure you stay true to the character that you understand as you understand him or her, but then also as the rest of the fandom understands that person, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, even in games, I know James has talked with me about this, like trying to capture that character in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, what the essential thing about that character.
Yeah.
What's the one ability that will define this character? And it's those simple 10 words that you'll read, that one sentence that says, that is Luke Skywalker, and I recognize him even if this picture wasn't there.
Yeah,
exactly. Like rendering down something like Luke Skywalker into
one bonus
information
rule
that can easily be put on a card. Yeah, that's got like
I was thinking that
three
'cause, like,
stats and one special rule.
you guys did a great job with that in X-Wing, for example, like when you introduced the Millennium Falcon, right? And you could put, depending on the combination, if it feels different if Lando's driving it than if Han Solo's driving it, right? And then if you add Chewbacca, all of a sudden it's a little different. And it's a little different if R2's on board. And it's like, it's kind of cool that you can kind of reassemble the crew and the ship flies like you feel like it should from the movie, that's really hard to do considering all those characters like one rule each, you know, kind of thing. That's pretty neat.
Exactly, yeah. Somehow you can still picture Chewbacca smashing a wrench into
right. I fixed it, I swear. So one last area before we run out of time. We're going a little long here. I know the Dunkin Donuts guy's giving us the evil eye, but I think it'd be
I'm totally out, but you guys need to talk about
I think we'd be remiss if we did not include video games in here as part of what defines the Star Wars universe. I think there's a couple that really there's been plenty of bad Star Wars video games, but there's been a few that were actually seminal in the video game industry that I think also really defined whole genres of video games, but also really drove Star Wars plot. And one of those series was, Shadows of the Empire. We got to talk about that. That was sort of a media campaign that involved video games and then also involved novels and a couple of things that came out, right?
Yep, comic books as well. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember when that came out.
I remember Empire back in the day, and besides being one of the most difficult games I've ever played, I don't know if I actually finished it. It's certainly been inspirational. We pulled plenty of X-Wing abilities for Dash from his experiences in that game.
Yeah, and that was... Go ahead.
Oh, no, I only played a little, but I even have like secondhand nostalgia for it, and I didn't deeply experience it, but it was a neat game.
So, that one...
Boba Fett in that game installs more fear in me than he did in any other story.
Yes. That game was fantastic. Go ahead.
So did you guys enjoy Shadows of the Empire too?
I did. I played it on, one of the challenges I had was it originally came out on a game console I didn't have. I think it was one of the PlayStations. I can't remember what it first came out on. And I didn't have it because it wasn't a PC game. That was the big thing. It was a console exclusive for one of the consoles before I had a console. And I was like really frustrated by it. And finally it came out later on a platform I could play it on. And I remember being really, because it was a big part of the Star Wars story. And I had played other Star Wars story video games that are also really influential. Like Jedi Knight was, this Jedi Knight came out when first person shooters were, Doom had come out. There were a couple of the first person shooters and Tomb Raider had been out. And you're kind of like, computers are cool enough now where I can be behind a person and see them. And all of a sudden Jedi Knight comes out and it's like, you can be behind a person and swing your lightsaber and he blocks it on the screen and you can learn force powers. And it was like Jedi Knight really, was crazy because as cool as Shadows of the Empire was, you were playing like a smuggler, right? All of a sudden Jedi Knight, you're a Jedi. Like, oh my God. And then Mara Jade and all the other. So Jedi Knight was a huge one too. And it introduced some really cool canon like the Dark Troopers, right? So all of a sudden you got stormtroopers in like power armor essentially and jetpacks and all this craziness. It's like, what the? So that was crazy cool. And then his ship's iconic. And I know you guys have got that in X-Wing also. But then of course the other game that was probably my favorite Star Wars game ever was the X-Wing series. So there was X-Wing and then there was X-Wing versus TIE Fighter and then there was TIE Fighter. And then there was another game, I forget what they called it, but basically you flew the Millennium Falcon. It was like a trading game. It was kind of like Private. There was a game called Privateer that was like Wing Commander, but there was an X-wing version of that essentially. You flew essentially a freighter. You flew the Millennium Falcon, and man, those were good games. And they introduced all the crazy, that was where I think Interdictors probably appeared in a book someplace first, but that was where I saw that for the first time. It was where I saw the TIE Defender. And then when you could actually, in TIE Fighter in particular, was awesome because it was a video game where you played a TIE Fighter pilot through the entire, and you got promoted. So you started out as this flying a TIE Fighter, which was crazy stupid because it's like no shields. you start with that and you work your way all the way up through the different cool Imperial craft, or even then you got up to these crazy experimental things. You go for the interceptors, and all of a sudden now you're in a TIE Defender, which is this crazy thing the game invented. And then all of a sudden you're in the TIE Advanced and all these other cool ships. And it was just like seeing all the different ships built out. And this is one of the early video games too, where you're really flying in fleet actions. Like when you guys talk about Star Wars Armada, I know Craig visualizes the final battle in Jedi. I visualize X-Wing, these games, because that's right. You're flying around. There's laser shooting right in front of you, and you're getting hit, and you're getting twisted. And you see the big capital ships just fighting each other and have these crazy objectives. And I don't know. Obviously, I loved them. What did you guys think about those? Did you play a lot of those?
Oh, I played a lot of those games, Russ. They actually had a huge impact on me. Mm-hmm. I played X-Wing the most, mm-hmm. but I also played TIE Fighter a bit, and TIE Fighter, the thing I remember the most about TIE Fighter is Merrick Steele.
Yes.
Being the protagonist, and that it's his story. It's almost like a Dirty Dozen turnaround kind of feel, because it's this guy who would be the bad guy you're kind of rooting for because he has long odds too, because surviving in a TIE Fighter is crazy.
Right.
And yeah, but I also think about those games a lot. I've thought about those games a lot the last year, working on Armada.
Yeah, they're essentially the Lego Star Wars for me. I actually had to be convinced a couple of years ago that the TIE Defender wasn't in the original trilogy. I
know, right? Yeah, it is surprising how much those games really kept it alive. And there's one other video game saga we would be remiss if we didn't mention, even though it takes place a long, long time ago, even a longer time ago than Star Wars, and that, of course, is Shadows.
Knights of the Old.
Nice, thank you. Knights of the Old Republic. Which, of course, there's the MMO, but I'm not talking about the MMO. I'm talking about the actual console game and PC game that came out in the early 2000s, right about the time of the trilogy did. Did you guys get a chance to play those?
Oh yeah, those were one of my favorite games from that. Two of my favorite games from that entire point in gaming. I mean, they're brilliant.
They're totally brilliant. And I remember they came out right at the same time as Phantom Menace and Episode 2. They were around that time period. And I remember thinking, HK-47 is probably one of the best Star Wars characters ever written.
He's good.
He's hilarious. The whole meatbag thing and everything else. And I remember when I was playing that game through and seeing his banter and the other banter, I kept thinking to myself, this is what the first three movies should have been. The writing in this should have been, they should have just hired who was ever working for BioWare at the time and just had him write the first three, because the banter is so good and the dialogue, because that was one of the early games too that did the whole thing that, BioWare took that into Mass Effect now, and Mass Effect's very famous for this, but they really pioneered it with Old Republic, with the idea that you're walking around with these characters and they're just having this dialogue with each other and you're just really getting to know them, and you have all the discussion trees and you really get into the characters, and it really captured, while X-Wing and TIE Fighter captured the essence of the space combat and simulated it, this game captured the essence of what Star Wars character interaction could be. That's what I felt about it.
Absolutely. It defines the Old Republic. I mean, that's what you think of when you think of the Old Republic.
Yeah, exactly right. They did such a good job with it. That would have been a great first series of movies. In fact, I'm almost disappointed. I mean, I think it's going to be great that Disney's doing Episode 7 and that we're going to get 3 more Star Wars films after the first 3. But I would almost love for them to just go back to, Old Republic time, do something back there where they could have whole new, because, the problem, they're kind of limited to, you got to have old Luke, you got to have old Han Solo, and that's all cool. Don't get me wrong, there's cool nostalgia there, but you're still also tied into what you got. If you go back, the advantage Old Republic had was they could take all the cool stuff that was Star Wars, but they weren't tied, didn't have to have a cameo by Boba Fett or anything. They could do whatever they wanted because it was so long ago. It was 1,000 years before anything happened with the regular stuff. So I don't know. I think there was a good idea there they were really able to leverage.
Yeah, that's another case for me where, sad to say, I have not played those games. But in a lot of my Star Wars, imbibing of Star Wars lore, I have a strange, nostalgia for all those characters. They all seem really cool. The storylines are really cool. Even if it's not something I experienced firsthand. Mm-hmm. I know it's a much beloved series.
Well, I think the thing they did the best with that too was that was the game where you could. I don't think Jedi Knight did this as much, but this was the game where you could go down either path. So you could choose to be dark side or light side, and then they did this in Mass Effect too. But it was kind of contrived in Mass Effect. It made total sense in Star Wars because like you're either going down the path of the dark side using Force lightning, or you're going on the path of the light side. As you did this, the other characters would act with you differently, and your other characters would get darker too. And it was just like you could see that struggle. And there was a great reveal in that game. I'm not going to spoil it, but there was like a great reveal that was like wow. And the whole you got to see the Sith Lords more, and it defined like that Sith Lord relationship better. It was just really, really fantastic. I just really was really amazed by the storytelling in that game too. So,
oh yeah, KOTOR 2 is definitely probably the best twist in video games.
Yeah,
that deck.
Yeah, no, I know it, and it sounds like it would have been an awesome reveal.
Well, it's like Vader's being.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It sounds like it would be great.
If you are a Star Wars hardcore fan, you can still play these games. So there's a website called Good Old Games that actually plays. It's got an emulator, so you can run all the old classic games on your PC. They just re-released X-Wing on that, and it's cheap. It's like $5. And then also, Knights of the Old Republic is actually BioWare redid, and you can play it on your iPad. So if you're interested in either of those games, you can get them pretty easily now, like less than $10. So yeah, there's they're older style graphics, but I think they're the kind of games too where the storytelling though it stands up. And even though it's a little old school, and people are playing old school video game graphics now anyway, it's a thing. So try them out. I think you'll be really impressed if you like Star Wars a lot and you want to see more of that stuff. I think those games really stand up nicely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks, guys. This has been a great chat. I think the Dunkin Donuts guys, he's all over Pumpkin Donuts.
They closed a while ago.
Yeah, they're kicking us out.
They just sort of left us. This is awesome. See, there you go. That's the danger of talking about Star Wars over coffee. You forget the coffee.
So James and Michael.
So I'm going to admit that I am right now looking at on eBay for all kinds of things that I'm afraid I'm probably going to have to get and then start reading, including the Shadows of the Empire graphic novel.
There you go. Yeah.
So
there was a lot of spin-offs on Shadows of the Empire. That was a good series.
Yeah. So I'm going to say right now that I think that this particular combination of guest hosts and lost chapters is going to cost me more than any other ever in the history of the show.
Very dangerous.
So thank you, gentlemen.
Dangerous.
Thank you for that.
Well, thanks, guys, for joining us today in Dunkin Donuts. And if folks want to find out what you guys are currently working on, where should they go? What's that website you guys have games on and stuff?
www.fantasyflightgames.com.
I bet if they go there, they could see all kinds of cool Star Wars games there, couldn't they? Like, I don't know, games that are already out and games that are coming soon, like Armada and oh man, and I just need to drop ship me that whole Imperial Assault thing. I mean, as soon as you make it, just send it out to me. Here's my credit card. So,
it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan, don't go anywhere near the Fantasy Flight Games website because you'll spend all your money. I'm just warning you now. It's awesome. So, all right, guys, thanks again for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon in the big show.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
There you go. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.